Today, I'm going to take you on a journey. It's the journey of the unforgettable kind. But before we proceed, may I ask that you close your eyes for a moment. I know it's counterintuitive to close your eyes when watching a video, but if you will, please indulge me. Close your eyes for a moment. Now that your eyes are closed, I want you to think of a picture that you consider to be very beautiful. It could be the picture of yourself or your spouse, your child, a place you've been. Whatever it is, I want you to focus on that picture for a few minutes. Excellent! In today's video, I will answer one of life's most important questions. I will tell you what makes your picture of choice a beautiful one. Let's go. For so many years, I went through life seeking to find a mask. Not a mask to protect me from coronavirus, but a mask to cover my weaknesses and conceal my imperfections, my flaws, and the dark spots of my life. For the most part of my early adult life, I struggled to live up to some unrealistic standards of perfection I had created for myself. As time went by, I realized I was fast becoming a stranger to myself. I could not recognize myself anymore. I had created this perfect image of a man I thought the society wanted me to be. And sure enough, that man was not remotely close to who I was created to be. I was living in the shadow of the people I had considered to be very perfect at the time. When you come to a point in life where you have to reintroduce yourself to yourself, then you know you've got some work to do. For many of us, this entire process of seeking creative ways to conceal our imperfections and the incredible pressure we place and subject ourselves to just to show up all dolled up every single time leads us to a very dark place. It can be likened to being a character in a fictional book or a movie. We live in a world that celebrates the externalities of a dream world, as though life is a movie. As an older sibling, I had the responsibility of being a good example. And as a kid raised in church, the expectation was for me to be perfect. As a son to African parents, I needed to make my parents proud by doing well in school, having good manners in the society, representing my family appropriately, which includes being a man of integrity and one of character, and mastering my craft, amongst many other things. So, I bore this burden of perfection like a weight on my shoulders without realizing that to expect a perfect life from a messy world is a bit of a stretch. Although most of us are doing the best we can, there will inevitably be times when our less than ideal self shows up. Times when, despite our greatest efforts, our emotions betray us and our not so pretty parts are triggered. After all, we are nothing but a bag of emotions held together by strings of intellect, as portrayed across media throughout time, from Greek mythology to art and film. Look in the mirror. What you see is a summation of all your life experiences, your scars, your pains, your flaws and imperfections, your awesomeness, and everything in between. That is exactly what makes you who you are. While I understand our inherent need to cover up our dark spots, I must say we can never truly be our authentic self without embracing the dark spots as much as we do the bright ones. We live in a very judgmental society. Little wonder why we have mastered the art of covering our imperfections under multiple layers of makeup foundation, while some others have learned to mask theirs under nicely fitted three-piece suits. Nobody wants to feel judged. So, to avoid the harsh criticism and judgment, not only by the larger society, but even more so by the people in their lives, I have seen many people take on a whole new persona and going through life all masked up. Friends, to experience the fullness of life, you must first reconcile this dilemma. We must acknowledge, embrace, and accept that we are not infallible and that we are a package made of the great and the not so great. Until then, we will continue to live in the shadow of other people. As I commenced this incredible journey of personal discovery about 2 decades ago, I began to uncover several myths and demystify societal definitions of a perfect life. I began to embrace who I am rather than what the society expects me to be. I started pursuing true purpose instead of a fantasy ideal. I remember walking through the aisle at this magnificent photo gallery in Switzerland and admiring the very captivating pictures on display. I wanted to understand what it takes to create a great picture. What are the critical components of a powerful image? Upon closer examination, I believe the most impactful pictures are created using these two fundamental concepts, amongst other things: highlights and shadows, with highlights being the bright parts of the image and shadows being the dark parts. This means a picture that is made of highlights only is considered overexposed, causing it to lose its data. Such picture is said to be blown out. On the other hand, a picture with shadows only becomes too dark. The viewer cannot appreciate the details in the picture. One of the reasons our brains might perceive a picture to be beautiful is the balance in the highlights and the shadows. Essentially, highlights and shadows complement each other to produce a beautiful picture. I believe the same can be said about makeup. I'm by no means a makeup artist, but I've had the opportunity of coaching a few of them. I understand that at the most basic level, to achieve excellent makeup, you need a balance of highlights and shadows, which is referred to as contouring. Extrapolating from these parallels, we can determine what makes the picture you chose at the beginning of a video a beautiful one. It is most likely because the picture has a perfect balance of highlights and shadow. What makes this concept even more interesting to me is that many of us go through life embracing and projecting our highlights while concealing our shadow. We love to talk about our bright spots, our high-flying career, the size of our home, our investment portfolios, our degrees and pedigrees. Yet, we avoid our dark spots like a plague. We cover up our scars. We suppress our imperfections. We even run away from our past failures and hope they never show up again. I wish we knew that highlights only never made a beautiful picture. If you're like most people, you probably think of imperfections in the negative sense only. After all, we are biologically preconditioned to do that. It's not natural to embrace the things that we are ashamed of. Those emotions that we consider to be so unfavorable are often the seeds that needs to go in the ground for greater things to grow. Imperfection brings with it a unique advantage. It separates mediocrity from greatness. That willingness to embrace your shadows, your flaws, and imperfection, allowing yourself to step into uncomfortable situation is never fun. But every time you do this, you write a little piece of the book that will ultimately become your ideal self. Most people won't do that. Most people avoid discomfort. They would rather be a mediocre version of another person than embrace the fullness of themselves. That is why most people live what is called the life of quiet desperation. Your less than ideal side, your imperfections, your shadows undoubtedly played a critical role in bringing you to where you are today. Your shadows shaped your worldview. Your flaws influenced your frame of reference, your beliefs, and in fact your character. This was the very road that brought you to this point in your life. I want you to understand today that there is value in your shadows. Having the confidence to stay true to yourself and who you are is an act of courage. Like anything, this kind of courage is built. You don't catch courage like feelings, you grow courage. Embracing your shadows only seems out of reach because the mind has convinced the body that it's not worth it. It's the missed opportunities that is tragic, never the failed attempts. But we have to be honest. We have to understand that this is a risk worth taking, and that we can convince ourselves that anything less is unacceptable, insufficient, and unworthy of our time. You need to take that leap of faith. Set yourself free today. Accept yourself. Embrace your less than ideal self. With over 6 billion people on the surface of the earth, not a single one can be you. Appreciate this beauty that is you. Celebrate this bundle that you are. And never live another day of your life with an apology. You are incredibly beautiful, and it's the highlights and the shadows that made you a beauty to behold. I want to challenge you to make a commitment today to embrace your shadows as you will your highlights. And if you want to join me to make a commitment, type yes in the comment section below. Let's build a community of people who are committed to getting 1% better daily. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Turn on the notification bell so you can be first to know when the next video drops. And until I see you again, keep cracking the life code.